Welcome to Remnant Online Followers. Please kindly subscribe. Thank you.
The word of God is the bread of life that we eat now. And so when you find a man who will have the capacity to exercise the dominion mandate, is a man that eats the word until he's saturated by it. He said, I found thy word and I did eat them, and they became the joy and the rejoicing. That's an economy in the spirit. Joy is an economy. Those who don't eat of the bread of life, they operate at the realm of happiness. And happiness is soulish. So when you give them a black jeep, that black jeep can turn them on for 3 days. When you say, take visa to Dubai, they are all over the place. But because it is happiness, it will quench. But when you begin to draw from the word and eat it, what happens to you is not happiness, it's called joy. And joy can make you happy. But over and above happiness, the joy of the Lord is our strength. That strength becomes stamina to stand against darkness. And so when you go to the office and everybody is taking bribe, you say, oh king, we will not be careful to answer you in this matter. We will not bow. And they will tell you the fire is 7 times hotter. It's not zeal that you use to confront fire. When you get to Babylon, you will know. Because what you call the government, there is Babylon there. What you call the banking sector, there is Babylon there. And many persons will bow. And if you refuse to bow, they will bring the furnace. The furnace. The stamina that you need to reject the furnace is not in your head, it's in your spirit. Because you will know that Nebuchadnezzar does not bluff. If he tells you, he will do it. Because if they don't bring the furnace, they will bring the den of lions. You will go through hell many times. Because many times when they tell you to compromise and you refuse, they will put you in a pit for 5 years. Nothing will come. But even in that pit, they cut off everything. You will stand your ground. Because your strength is not your account. Your strength is the life that is in your spirit. The dominion mandate is not a lecture. It's a making process. The making process of warriors. This is why, see, we think the world is just a place of speaking English. No, there are lions there. There are furnaces. There is a sun god called Pharaoh there. Pharaoh will lick you up with his anger unless you come with a momentum that you cannot understand. And the only thing that gives you that level of momentum is how much of the bread you eat. How much of life is in your spirit. That's your stamina. He said the hand of God came upon Elijah. He outran the chariots of Ahab. They may tell you to compromise and you refuse, and they stop you for 10 years and you don't change your mind. On the 11th year, then God will bring a wind, and the promotion of 10 years will come in one day. But at that time, hear this, the testimony is no longer the promotion. The testimony is that you are bigger than the promotion. The dominion mandate is a life. It's a life. How much of it do you have? If not, Lagos will swallow you up. Lagos. You think Lagos is a geographical location? No, there are spirits here called Lagos. And what they do is to put pressure and anxiety in your soul. So you pursue money and you become religious, but you are godless. Life is called stamina in the spirit. Stamina. When food doesn't come for 1 year, can you stand? When reproach comes for 1 year, can you stand? When you are denied a position for 5 years, can you stand and say, Lord, I know you are able to promote me, but in case they think because of promotion I will compromise, I will not. That's where the dominion mandate starts from. It's not a lecture, it's not English, it is war in the spirit. You think God will cook you? All of this were at the bedrock. He didn't just come and say have dominion. What are you multiplying? You are compromising, and then you are in the economy. They say God has a man there. No, it's the devil that has a man there bearing the name of God. Because what you are multiplying is compromise, it's iniquity, it's lies, it's bribery. That's not kingdom. The mandate does not begin with proliferation. The mandate does not begin with population. It begins with witnesses. And it's better to have 12 who are witnesses indeed than to have 1,000,000 that the devil can scatter in a moment. Did you not read about the disciples of Jesus? They were killed, they stood their ground. When Peter was to be hanged on the cross, they thought he would beg for his life. He said, please, when you crucify me, don't put it upward. Turn it upside down. I'm not qualified to be crucified like my master. If you have one of such men, it's more than 1,000,000 men. Go and read the church history and find out the kind of men that the dominion mandate is recited to. It's not for everybody. It's for witnesses. And these guys continued like that. The disciple of John called Polycarp was the bishop of Smyrna. He was 86 years old when they came to arrest him. And they told him to run. He said no. Run to where? When his captors came, he sat them down and welcomed them and entertained them. When they finished, he said, let's go. I'm ready. I'm ready. That's the man you can send out. And when they were about to burn him to the stake, they asked him to change his mind for the last time. And he said, for 86 years, my Lord has been good to me. Why will I deny him now? He said, go ahead. The Lord has given me strength to stand the heat of the fire. And he was burnt alive. And he never compromised. They spoke of Perpetua and Felicity. This was a princess, pregnant and arrested. Denied the master. He said, not me. They said the child is innocent, so let's wait until you conceive. And every day she was counting down on her debt. And she never changed her mind. Few days after she was put to bed, they carried her and her slave and took them to the arena naked and gave them one other choice to change their mind. They said they will not. And white beasts were released to tear them apart. You are changing your mind because of 1,000,000 and you are talking dominion mandate. What dominion mandate? White beast tore them apart. They stood their ground. Our generation needs to find out again what makes a witness. Because only witnesses are dead enough to carry the weight of the dominion mandate. It's too heavy for a man who is in himself to carry it. Is it this generation of gossipers? Is it this generation pursuing things, not God? There has to be an awakening first. If not, what we say will be lectures. This is a generation where young ladies fornicate to buy wig. A generation where men kill men for 4,000 naira. They will kill somebody, collect the money and go and eat a plate of food. To confront that kind of generation, you need the powers of the ages to come. You need something beyond English. You need something beyond intelligence. You need something beyond lingo. You need a witness in the spirit that when you speak, spirits are mobilized. The word dominion is war. It means take over. And when you want to take over, you will meet the princes. And so when they come, you must be fortified with the nature, with the lifestyle, with the presence, and with the life. When this four is in place, then God will commission you with his authority. That authority is what we call the mandate. The authority that God places on you. And the goal of that authority is, number one, to replicate the will of God where you find yourself. Your ability to replicate the will of God. Christians are not people looking for promotion or breakthrough. Christians are men sent to execute the will of God in different corridors. And so if you are in the government, what you are looking for is not a position to validate you. We don't have positions on earth. The earth has been judged. It said the elements of this world will melt. This earth has already been judged. When you are in government, you are there as a witness to bring the will of God. When you are in the economic world, you are there as an agent empowered with finances to bring the will of God. But you must first of all be conquered to be able to live and think that way. And so the reason we are having this session this morning is because we want to trust God to open the vistas of heaven so that we will see what every carrier of the mandate sees. Because the mandate is the authority on your life to administer God's will in your sphere of influence. But you cannot exercise God's will if you don't know it. And so when we are teaching on this subject, like most of the speakers would have taught and taught very well, is to open to you God's will for his people. Is to reveal to you God's will for territories and for dispensations and for generations. That's why somebody was quoting earlier that Pastor Poju said it's good to have a lot of money, not because that money gives you value, but because that money empowers you to advance God's kingdom. It's a cry out loud and say, my cities through prosperity shall yet be spread abroad. So one of the revelations of God's will is the fact that God wants his kingdom, which is the realm of his influence, to dominate the physical realm. And so if I come into this city, as God is growing me and my companies, my finances are growing, I'm looking for how to colonize Lagos. That's why the money is increasing. Not so that I will join Forbes list of the richest men in Nigeria. Because you can be a richest man in Nigeria and not be known in heaven. It will rather be that you open vistas through which men met God. Do you see how they do it in darkness? You click your phone, a naked woman pops up. You don't know who is paying for it. Billions of dollars going for that advert to be on every phone. Nowadays, if you even carry your writing pad, you are not browsing. A naked woman will be walking in your writing pad. How did she come there? Because people who understand mandates of darkness are at work. You go to buy razor blade and you see a naked man with pant. How does a naked man concern a razor blade? Because those who have economic power have intentions of corrupting your soul. And they know the way your soul will corrupt is by looking upon pornography and nudity. And so their job is to sponsor it until every billboard you turn to, every Android phone you carry, every song you hear, they are dominating it. Now that they are advancing the gay movement, billions of dollars are being pumped in every day in order to make it become a norm, because they know that it's only this generation that will fight it. If they sponsor it well enough, the next generation coming will think it's normal. And so you go to the Olympics, you go to the World Cup, you go to the Premier League, you must see something about LGBTQ. They are not talking to you. They know you are brainwashed now enough to reject it, but they know your children don't know that much. And so if your children keep seeing it, your children will begin to think that the sex you have is not the sex you must have. Your sex is what you feel like you are. And so a man will come and say, I feel like a woman. And the reason he will feel that way and talk that way is because right from his conception, right from the first time he can articulate, those who sponsor it with their wealth have sponsored enough for him to see and think it's normal. In Europe now, they are teaching 4-year-old children that they have the right to choose the sex they want. And those who are in government insisted that it should be done. Whereas Christian politicians are in government and all they are interested in is how to cut away with the billions that is meant for their constituency to buy Ferraris and park in their compound. Lost. And so our problem is not absence of Christians in corridors where it matters. It's absence of witnesses. We have more than 40 Christian senators. If they are kingdom people, they are enough to represent us. And so don't tell me Dominion mandate is about populating different spheres with Christians, because we already have more than enough. But we don't have witnesses. And it's not about the senators. Even on the street, those who are selling corn are thieves. And so the syllabus must be re-examined. And people must come to know that before you talk about kingdom advancement, talk about the people. Who are you? What is the measure of the nature at work in your life? What is the measure of the character on display through your life? What is the depth of the presence you have sucked yourself into? What is the level of life that you have eaten from the world? Do you date? A woman wants to marry. She's looking for a man with a big chest. She doesn't care what God says. How many of them even hear God? They hear chest size. A man wants to get married. He's looking for a woman with a big buttocks. In an era where princes are going to war, you don't know the nobles marry for kingdom. Every woman wants to be naked. When did they change the definition of beauty to nakedness? I thought nakedness was different from beauty. When did they modify the definition? You now know that other demons and princes are at work. They are whisperers. There's nothing wrong in being excellent, but there's everything wrong in being naked. And when the generations begin to go naked, know that the Deborahs are lacking. And so the kingdom mandate is your ability to receive God's authority and use that authority to exercise God's will. And so there are few spiritual ways of accessing God's will. And God's will is a plethora of spiritual realities that I cannot begin to explain here. But God's will finds expression where whatever it is you are doing makes the people to contact God, contain God, and express God. If you are able to achieve that, you've given expression to God's will and you have carried out the dominion mandate. Wherever God places you, if you are able to make men contact God, contain God, and express God, then that's the summary of God's will. It can be in government, it can be in media, it can be in the economy, wherever you are. It can be in the educational field. If you are able to get men, either directly or indirectly, to contact God, contain God, and express God, you have done God's will. But there are many channels into this ability and this reality. One of them is by spiritual impartation. And that's what we'll be trusting God for in the next 10 minutes. Let me show you a few scriptures quickly as we begin to round up. Colossians chapter 1 verse 9. You can bring people into God's will by teaching them. You can bring people into God's will by praying and impacting them. You can bring people into God's will by bringing them under the atmosphere of those who are living out God's will. So there are many channels. But for tonight, God's servant said we should trust God for activations. And so I need to read few scriptures to support what I want to do. So when we start praying, you will know exactly what is happening in the spirit. And so Colossians chapter 1 verse 9, here was Paul trying to bring a people into God's will. Because as we live here, most of us will also be saddled with the responsibility of bringing others into God's will. And this is one of the most potent ways of achieving it. Because there are many places you will go, it is illegal to preach to somebody. There are many places you will go, it will be informal to preach to somebody. You don't go to the bank and say, everybody come and hear the gospel. They will sack you the next week. And so in places where you can't preach, like we have the liberty doing now, there is another channel through prayer and impartation. Prayer can culture an atmosphere, and when people enter, that atmosphere begins to educate them. That's the dynamic, because spirits are mobilized through prayer. And so when you choke a place with prayer, the spirits begin to work, because you hear with many frequent faculties beyond your ear. Every cell in your body hears. That's why if you enter a room where two people are quarreling, even if they stop talking, you will know. You are a receptacle of frequencies. And so one of the ways you bring people into God's will is by prayer and impartation, especially when their hearts are open. And so Colossians 1:9 says, for this reason we also, since the day we heard of your faith, we did not cease to pray for you and to ask that you be filled with the knowledge of his will in all wisdom and spiritual understanding. If you go forward, he said that you may walk worthy of the Lord, fully pleasing him, being fruitful in every good work, increasing in the knowledge of God's will. This is when somebody can go into the academia and say he's carrying the dominion mandate. When he's fully pleasing to God, when he is fruitful in making others contact, contain, and express God, because he's known the specific will of God for him in that territory. But the way he comes into this economy is by prayer. And so some of the people that will be impacted this morning, they will not fall down. But as they go to their business on Monday, they will enter that business as a new person. Because before now, they went as earners of salary. But now they will enter there as ambassadors of Zion. Because something would have happened. They would have discerned God's will. And the more you discern God's will and live it out, the more authority is imparted on your life. But the way you get in is by prayer and by impartation. Number 2, I show you something else. Ephesians 1 from verse 17 to 19. Hear what Paul said. See, this prayer thing, if you are a believer, pray. It does so much for you than God just opening a door. He said he prayed for the church in Ephesus. He said that the God of our Lord Jesus Christ, the Father of glory, may grant unto them. See the robust dynamics that Paul was about to open to this church through prayers, to show you the authority of prayers. See what Paul was about to open. And being a technocrat, he knew exactly what he was doing. He said, number 1, that God may give unto you, on the strength of his prayer, the spirit of wisdom, that's Sophia, and revelation, that's apocalypsis, in the knowledge of him, that's epignosis, that the eyes of your understanding being enlightened, that's photizo. So one prayer provoke 4 things. That's why impartations are important. If I'm teaching you, I can bring you revelation, and you are limited to the revelation. But when I pray over you, I bring you much more than revelation. Sophia is knowledge that produces result. That's why it's called wisdom. Fruitful knowledge. So that job you are on, you will not go on that job and say, I'm a spiritual man, I'm a spiritual man. Oga, you were employed to teach physics. Before you are a witness in that university, you must know physics and teach it well. You can't go into the economy and say, we are apostles to the economic world, and you don't have intelligence for the trading. They will kick you out. You cannot go into the medical corridor. Every operation you do, the patient dies, and then you say, we are ambassadors, we are ambassadors. No. You have to be fruitful and effective there first. You can't go to the market and they give you 10 million. After 3 months, it becomes 300,000. And they say, no, you are unprofitable. You say, come on, I'm a servant of God. Don't you know we are here to change the market? Oh God, before you change the market, improve the market. And so Paul said they needed to have Sophia, knowledge that produces results. And then number 2, he said apocalypsis. That means access into the secrets of that realm. And so while you are in the market trading intelligently, a point will come, you will know that that market is not just a market of trading, is a battleground. Because when access begins to come, you'll start seeing signatures of principalities and powers, of rulers of the darkness of this world, and of spiritual wickedness in heavenly places. So you will not just go into that market with knowledge anymore. You will now go into that market with weapons of warfare. And so when you come to the market, before you open the door, you sit in the room and blow in tongues for 1 hour. You will not have the momentum to pray in tongues for 1 hour before starting, except as your eyes are open. Maybe what you call your shop, you come and then your eyes are open. You now discover there's a dark cloud on your shop. That's when you will know that what is happening here is beyond trading. What is happening here is war. When you see that kind of reality, then the momentum to pray is imparted. Because now that vision will equip you with capacity for war. The reason many people are not fighting is because they've not seen. The reason Moses did what he did, the Bible said it was because he saw him that was invincible. If you don't know that the family is the corridor of warfare, you will think it's about speaking politely to your wife and going on periodic holidays from Spain to Dubai. But when you discover that there is a program that they've written, that after 14 years in marriage, then the first attack will come. When you are 10 years in marriage, you start adding tongues. Because we know that to be able to dodge that arrow 4 years later, you will need a lot of spiritual momentum to ascend. Because the devil doesn't fight every day. He doesn't have enough weapons. That's why he prepares specific weapons for specific people. He said no weapon fashioned against you. He doesn't have too much. So the devil can decide to invade your space every 4 years. If you don't have apocalypse, you will not prepare. Because you traded this year, made 10 million. Traded next year, made 30 million. Traded next year, made 200 million. You say we have arrived. Meanwhile, your battle is on the 4th year. But if you have apocalypse from the first year, you will know that it's not the victory of the first, second, and third year. The victory of the 4th year is what matters. And so before you reach the 4th year, you will enter there with weapons. Belele, lala, yuata, vavara, kakatalo, baradadia, juata. You see why many people fail in life? They don't have apocalypse. They have 7 years of glory. They don't know that the next 7 years is famine. It will take a Joseph that has access to revelation to tell you, oh king, don't live carelessly in the first 7 years. After the first 7 years, the next 7 years will be famine. Apocalypse is what fortifies you with strategic knowledge for strategic engagement. And then when you finish apocalypse, he now spoke about fortizo. Fortizo is illumination. At the level of fortizo, you don't have access anymore. You carry it from where it is and brings it out. Authority level has changed. Apocalypse brings you into the realm. Fortizo makes you carry the realm out. And so while one person is seeing something for 1 year or for 2 years and is preparing, another person doesn't need to see it. He is the answer. Anywhere he comes with authority. Listen to Daniel's life. Once upon a time, the king called Daniel and said, I had a dream. If you can tell me the dream, I will believe your interpretation. Because he came to realize that his astrologers were liars. So before you give me any fake interpretation, tell me the dream first. So they needed apocalypse at that level. And Daniel said, there's a God that reveals secret. Give us time. As Daniel went to pray, access was granted him. But a point came, Daniel grew. The next time the other king called him, he didn't need to pray anymore. Now he is the realm. He doesn't enter the realm, he is the realm. He is the realm. And when Daniel showed up, he said, oh king, God exalted you and gave you a kingdom that covered the ends of the earth. But you decided to worship the God of iron, of stone, and of clay. See, when you have become the realm, even the way you talk change. Because when you speak, things happen. You don't need to prepare for 4 years to collide with that issue. If that issue sees you coming, it will move for its own good. He said, you have decided to worship the God of stone, of clay, and of iron. He says, for this reason that this hand is come. Mene, mene. Whenever I remember this scripture, something is quickened in my spirit. There was nobody who could read that handwriting. Because that was the first time the mystery of tongues came into the earth realm. That's why Paul called it the language of angels. Nobody knew anything about tongues before that time. And a mortal man showed up and was reading the handwriting of angels. Mene, mene. Teke, ofasi. He didn't just read it. He now began to interpret it. So you know the language of angels. The question now is, where does Daniel live? Does he live on earth or he lives in heaven? How did he come to know angelic language so much? And he did not just interpret it, he executed the judgment. He said, tonight, my God, it's called fortizo. When a man carries light. Now, if you don't carry light, you cannot exercise the will of God. Because the Bible said in Isaiah chapter 60 verse 1, it said darkness shall cover the earth. It said gross darkness, the people. Gross darkness. That business you are going into, there is darkness there, and there is gross darkness on the people. So you can't just come there and say, I'm a Christian. No, you must come with light. Because he said the light shines in the darkness. The darkness comprehended it not. Even Jesus, the Son of God, was on earth for 30 days, no impact. Kingdom doesn't move because you are present. Kingdom moves because you have light that comes with authority. After light came to him in Matthew 4:15, he said the land of Zebulun, the land of Naphtali, by the way of the sea, beyond Jordan, Galilee of the Gentiles. He said the people that sat in darkness, they have seen a great light. That means all his work in Zebulun for 30 years had no impact on the territory until light came. And Paul says the way this light is activated is by prayers. He said, I pray for you that the spirit of wisdom and revelation in the knowledge of him will come, the eyes of your understanding being enlightened. Somebody is going back to the economic world with light. Somebody is going back to government with light. Because that light will do two things to you. The things the devil wants to shroud away from you so that you don't prosper, you will know it. Because the Bible said that the reason God created mysteries is for our glory. And so when you go into the economic world, there is a demonic intelligence where they hide the opportunities, they hide the connections, they hide the advantages for you not to be able to see. When light comes, the first thing that happens is that you go ahead of them. So what they plan for your evil turns out for your good, because you can counter all their steps. But beyond that, when light comes, you now also have authority to judge them. I pray for somebody here this morning, the authority that light confers, to be able to exercise the will of God, it rests upon you now.
Thank you for watching. Please kindly like, comment, subscribe, and turn on your notification bell so you always get notified whenever we post a new video. And don't forget to share. Thank you.